So let's come back over to Visual Studio Code or back over to your editor. And inside of the basics, I'm going to make a new file and we'll call it list.py. And this will be where we can implement and kind of create a little bit of a playground. So let's make a few notes based on what we just talked about. A list is a list, and I'm going to put in quotes there, of variables. They are grouped together for some reason. There's lots of potential reasons, and actually I'll give you a couple, right? Maybe came from a back end. And so I'll put in parentheses here an API database. Okay, you don't need to worry about those if you don't know what they are. Maybe they are a logical group. Maybe they need to be looped through, and I'll put on that last one there, a logical group like I had in our example, countries, animals, etc., something like that. Okay? They come with some awesome tools, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But let's go ahead and again, this will be the reason we have these comments is because this will be an easier way for you to reference. But let's make a variable. We'll call it literally empty list, and we'll do that. This is our syntax. Okay, this is enough where this is now a list. And let's go ahead and check. We'll do print. We'll do our parentheses, and we will check the type of empty list. So again, we're kind of putting this on one line where normally maybe we would make this a variable. We have this, which is type. Check the type of empty list, and then we've got that in parentheses, which means we are going to print it out. Let's come back over to the terminal. Make sure that you go down into the basics, or at least I'm going to. And I'm going to do Python 3 against list.py. And we get the return value here. It is a class, right? It's a list class, right? This is our data type. So just like strings, numbers, etc. Okay? It just happens to be an empty list. Let's do what we did before. We'll do countries by pop. We'll do brackets. And there are two ways to do this, right? Python will allow you to do either. This one is not going to be a problem. But we can put in here India, comma, China, comma, US, comma, Indonesia. It's very common syntax to break these down onto their own line. So you could do this, and it is okay, and I would say it's in fact probably typical because it makes it a lot easier to read. You want to be able to see each one on its own line. It makes it a lot friendlier. The last one in a list, it can have a comma at the end, which I typically will do because it makes it nice going forward. Hey, if I'm going to add another one, I don't have to think about going back and adding that comma again. So if I indent it, or dedent it, I guess I should say like that, this is okay. And let's go over and run it quick, actually. Let's print off countries by pop. Now, this should annoy you greatly. At least it annoys me greatly. But I am going to run this. Okay, Visual Studio Code did not complain, and we don't get an error. This is one of the occasions when we're defining a data type that it does not matter how it is indented. So I can do that, and I can do that, and I can run it again, and Python is okay with that because it's not a block of code. It's not, we are inside of these square brackets, and until we close them, you know, we can organize it however our humanness wants us to, right? The Python interpreter, the Python program does not care what we do. So again, the way I prefer to do it is this. I really despise this because it looks so bizarre. This is consistent with Python syntax, and it makes it a lot easier to read. If you have a really long list and maybe at some point, you know, you'll get to the point where you want to keep them on one line, it's perfectly fine. Again, Python is okay with it either way. Let's make another variable here. We'll call it, I don't know, animals. And we can put them on one line here. We'll do dog, comma, elephant, comma, cat. Okay? Right? List. Right? A group of variables. So one variable with a bunch of variables inside. Let's do an intermingle one. So we'll do a list of different data. We'll do DT, data types. Okay, and inside here, we'll do Joe, followed by the number 4, followed by the number 3.14, followed by the variable true. Okay, now this one's really going to blow your mind. We can put another list inside of this list, okay? And this isn't, I wouldn't say to worry about this too much right now because it's not worth spending a ton of time on, but we can put in here 1, 2, 3, okay? And if I print off lists of different data types, okay, so this will be the last thing we see in our console. Go back to the terminal here. Let's clear this out and print it off. It has no problem with that, right? We've got this followed by this, right? They're separated by commas. And then lastly, we've got this one thing, which is itself 1, 2, 3 things, okay? Now, like I said, there's a bunch of awesomeness that comes with lists. And so we're going to kind of go back up and we'll start from the top here, countries by population. Let's get rid here of line 10. We don't need that. We can access each individual index. Remember, index is that thing's place in the list. So India, and I'm going to put a comment here. We'll put this is index 0. So in order to access that, let's come down below here. We're printing off the entire list. You can pause me for a second if you want to think about it. But we use those same brackets, and then in the brackets we put the one that we want to actually print out. We want countries by population. That is a list, right? It's not a string. It's not a number. It's not a Boolean. It's a list. List use those square brackets. And which one do you want? I want the 0th or the first element in the list, which will be India. So if we save this, come back over, let's clear this out. Okay, India comes through on that first one. We have 0, and I'll put here 1, 2, and 3. So if we want to grab Indonesia, I'm going to change this to 3. 3 is the 4th element because, again, it starts at 0. We print it off. Sure enough, we get Indonesia. Okay? Some of the coolness that comes with it, if you want to know how many elements are inside of the list, we can do print. I'm going to grab countries by population. So this is our list. This is our data type, our variable. We can put in front of it, just like the print command, just like the if command, just like the while, etc. We can put len, which is short for length. Okay, so let's make a comment. Len, whatever is in the parentheses, len will try and find how many items there are. Okay? So if we have this line here, right, the len command, we have parentheses, so whatever's in parentheses, how many are there of these? Well, the number should be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not going to get the last index or indice of the list, but it's going to find out how many there are. So we've got print len countries by population. Let's save that. This will print off Indonesia, and then we are going to expect the number 4. And that is precisely what we get. Let's hop into, just for a little bit of practice before we end the video here, let's go into F formatting mode. So I'm going to do that. So we've got an F followed by quotes. We need to switch over here into bracket mode. So this is a variable inside here, right? Go get the length of this list. Let's put outside of it the length of countries by population is, and then we've got a colon, right? So F formatting, so, right, double quotes. This is a string, right, because it's all in orange. We hit the bracket that says, hey, Python, I want you to switch over for a second. It grabs the length of this variable. We leave the brackets, which means we are no longer in variable mode. We're back in string, and I'll put a period at the end here. Oh, we lost the bracket. There we go. Put the period in. Let's run it one more time. There we go. The length of countries by pop is, and then we have our number. Okay?